Compassion is something that connects us all. In Buddhism, Tantric Buddhism, they talk about compassion being the same as emptiness. And that's not like a nihilistic kind of nothingness, but an emptiness, as my friend Bob Thurman says, that is even empty of itself to the point where it is simply potential. It is where all things spring from, including the sense of a separate suffering self. So when we bring compassion to our own suffering, we are seeing the fullness of it. We're seeing the perfection of it. We're seeing how there is nothing broken or wrong in our suffering. It is what is in this moment. But we also see that there is no moment that lasts. There is no suffering that lasts. Yet compassion is always here for us to access. And from the viewpoint of the separate suffering self, compassion allows us to have a way of seeing that connects us with presence, with this moment, where we're not lost in thoughts about the past or about the future, where we can take the goggles off and simply be with our experience right now. And that's why cultivating this sense of self-compassion is like cultivating mindfulness. I don't know if any of you had a chance to see the video I posted in the community of Chris Germer. You can look it up on YouTube too, he's talking about self-compassion in the video. But the connection that it has to the one that is being mindful. That with mindfulness, what we're doing is cultivating a non-judgmental, loving awareness of the present. And with self-compassion, what we're doing is cultivating a loving awareness of the one who is being present. So what he called it, and I loved this, it made so much sense to me immediately, was an antidote to shame. And he's a psychologist who was saying that so much of anxiety is rooted in shame. Shame being the experience of thinking of what other people are thinking of us. So when I experience shame, things like stage fright or being nervous about how someone else perceives me. And of course, then we're always bringing our own judgments of ourselves, projecting them onto someone else, thinking they're going to have those same judgments of us. And so now we've doubled down on kind of our thoughts about ourself, our problems, our things we need to fix, our what isn't good or right, or what's bad, what we're ashamed of. And as we see that whole mechanism at play, we start to see through that mechanism. And self-compassion is a vehicle to bring us there. It's an experiential vehicle to move us through a mental experience so that we see more deeply what's happening. And we're in the seeing, we're seeing through the illusion that we're creating with thought. Because there isn't truth to our projecting our judgments of ourselves onto someone else and thinking that they are sharing those judgments. And then that whole complicated mechanism of thought and of creating a sense of self who is now nervous and anxious and then has a problem to move through. And oh my God, I'm anxious. And oh, I have all this anxiety. And then it's, I am anxious. I'm an anxious person. I have anxiety. And then it becomes a definition of who we are. And how do you get out of that? Well, there are lots of ways to approach it. Therapy is one of them, to work with those thoughts. But then to go more deeply to the root, we have to look at the experience. And the experience, when we bring self-compassion to that, changes. And when the experience changes, the thoughts change necessarily. And more than that, the thoughts become less defining of the experience because there is something more real in the compassion. There's a sense of that, oh, wait, these thoughts are just thoughts, but this sense of compassion is different. Now, does it start that way right at the beginning? The very first time you sit down to practice self-compassion, are you going to be like, oh God, yeah, I get it? It's usually not like that because we have these mechanisms that have been going on for our entire lives, going the other way, into the mind, into creating the anxiety through the feelings of shame. So it becomes a practice, much like mindfulness. And when we incorporate self-compassion and mindfulness, mwah, chef's kiss. Because now we're not just working on a non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. We're developing a loving, compassionate awareness of the one who is aware. So we're coming at it on multiple levels. And it's like supercharging our mindfulness. What we're doing here with awakening our personal myth is basically going from a mind identified story of who we are that feels like we are the story. This always happens to me. I am this. I'm like that. It's a story that we're just like, this is it. This is who I am. And we feel like the telling of that is our experience of authenticity. And that's kind of the level that therapy takes us to, is starting to accept the truth and not, looking away from what thoughts are and what our sense of self is. But when we awaken our personal myth, we take that sense of self and we bring curiosity to it. We bring self-compassion to it. We bring mindfulness to it. And then what we start to see is that that whole sense of a separate suffering self begins to develop into something that feels more like a presence that is interconnected. And not suffering in its separateness, but simply feeling what's here in the moment, experiencing life without running it through this identity, this separate suffering self that needs to comment on and fix everything and watch it and constantly be reinforcing its role as the protector of the thing it made, all the illusions it created. And it's not insubstantial. I mean, it really does come down to a different experience of life, one that's much closer to the present, one that's much closer to other people, everything that is. So be gentle with yourself to realize that what we're undertaking here happens sometimes subtly, sometimes it's a big shift. But we're looking more deeply into our experience to see what's there. And I don't want you to take my word for any of this. I want you to go into this curiously and find if this is true for you. I'm simply trying to use words to explain something that's been true for me. And I know it's been true for others too. But this is not about the words that I use, it's about the experience that you have and following that and following your own intuition to what this all means for you. So, welcome to today's meditation on self compassion. And self compassion is not empathy or sympathy for ourselves, it's bringing a sense of love and the acknowledgement that we're all in this together, doing the best that we can to all of our experience, the good times, the hard times. It's about bringing caring and awareness to the one who is aware. So get comfortable wherever you are. If you'd like, you can close your eyes and simply sense into the body. What do you feel? What are the sensations in the bottom of your feet? Just let your attention go there. And if the mind starts to wander, we can always bring attention to the breath, our connection to the present moment, just like the senses. When we bring attention to the senses or to the breath, we're calling our awareness back home, back to this moment, out of the illusion of the past or the present. Sorry, or the future, to the present. And these illusions can seem so real. these illusions that we build with thought. These illusions that we start to see through from presence. Just allowing the body to continue to settle, noticing any other points of contact and sensations of your bottom on the chair you're sitting on, your back against the chair, noticing what your hands are touching. Just bringing attention to the sense of touch. Now, gently guiding attention to the sensations in your chest and abdomen. What do you notice? What do you notice around the chest, inside the chest, in the belly, around the navel, in the lower back? You notice any tension, just allowing the breath to go there and touch it gently with awareness. Maybe imagining a warm golden light coming in with the breath and touching any discomfort or tension, just gently, and then allowing a little of that discomfort or tension to leave on the exhale. Notice how it feels to bring awareness to this part of the body, the chest and the belly, where so many of our feelings and emotions arise. Just bringing a gentle awareness to your tender heart and your belly. Bringing a warm golden light to the center of our body and so many of the emotions we experience. How does it feel to spend a moment here, simply being aware? Do you notice the tendency to go off in thought, to try to remove yourself from the experience? You notice emotions coming up. What do you notice as you simply allow attention to be with the belly, with the chest? Mm. Now, bring your attention back to the bottoms of your feet, back to your connection with the ground, with the earth. How does that sensation feel now when you bring your attention to the feet? And you still feel the connection to your center, even at your feet. You allow that golden light to go all the way down to your feet and all the way back up and out through the top of your head. Simply letting awareness move to wherever it wants, being with the sensations in the body, the sensations of touch, and the sensations that feel more like they're on the inside. And realizing that we all have similar sensations. We all get butterflies in our stomach. We all feel tension in our chest. We all experience numbness and tingling and all of the sensations, all of the emotions, shame, pride, sadness, joy, peace, anger. We are all in this together. This experience of humanity, humaneness, in all of its fullness. It is an expression of not just who we are individually, but who we are as humans and who we are as a part of the community of life on this planet and in this universe. this planet, this universe that we spring out of and return to. And all that connects us is compassion. And when we bring that compassion to our sense of self, it allows us to see more deeply the truth of that sense. It allows us to see through the suffering, separate sense of self and sense more deeply into the connected, the universal, the sense of self that we all share, where there is no suffering. There is no separation. There is only compassion. And when you're ready, start to wiggle your fingers and toes, bringing your awareness back to the space around you, the sounds in the room, the shapes and colors in front of you. The breath.